Hey, hi. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'll walk you through simple examples on how you can create a very appealing data science slash machine learning engineer resume. So let's start. The first and foremost tip that I can give you if you are applying for a data science or a data analyst or a machine learning engineer role is keep your resume to one page. Now, I've seen a lot of resumes wherein people have written tons and tons of things and the resume kind of spans across, say, 4 or 5 pages. Don't ever do that mistake. One thumb rule that I can recommend is 10 years of experience correspond to one page in your resume. So, if you have close to 10 years of experience and if you are doing some good stuff in data science and machine learning as well, try to restrict your resume to one page. A single page resume is all that is required to make that cut in the selection in terms of the next rounds from your resume shortlisting. So that is my first tip, that is keep your resume short and crisp and try to limit your resume in just one page. One more thing that I can also recommend is keep the resume very simple. In terms of simplicity, what I mean to say by that is don't add unnecessary graphics that kind of dilute your overall resume in case of data science. I totally understand if it's like a design based resume or if it's a different portfolio that you're showcasing, but for data science at least, don't add a lot of graphics into the resume. That doesn't go well with a lot of recruiters as well. So ideally, my recommendation would be avoid as many graphics as you can and keep the resume very text oriented. Speaking about text, make sure that the text you have is readable. Don't use a very weird font which is very hard to grasp for anyone reading that resume as well. Make it very readable. Choose an optimum font value or a font size as well. Don't keep it too small, don't keep it too large either. So, that is something that I can recommend in terms of resume font size, the type of graphics that you should avoid, and also the type of or the length of the resume that you should keep. So this is something that I can recommend in terms of the size of your resume, the font size, as well as the total amount of content that has to be present. Let's go on to the second point. The second point is extremely relevant and which is the skills section of your resume. So add the skills which you are very confident about. What I mean to say by that is if you worked on NumPy, please add NumPy. If you worked on Pandas, please add Pandas. If you've not worked on a particular package, just for the sake of adding that package, don't add something like a PyTorch if you've not worked on it. Don't add TensorFlow if you've never worked on TensorFlow before. So add relevant skills in the skill section and avoid a mistake by giving numbers to the skill set that you have. No one can be 9 out of 10 in Python, no one can be 10 on 10 in Python. So avoid as much as you can in terms of giving numbers to your skills. Then you can share the various projects that you have done with respect to Python, machine learning, the different packages that you've used. So that would give a fair sense to the hiring manager, also the recruiter, in terms of how much Python you are comfortable with. If the company wants to test you out on Python, then they might send across a coding round as well. But essentially, refrain from using numbers to specify the skill set that you have in terms of the different languages or different packages that you mention. One more thing that I would like to highlight is if you mention big data, if you mention Hadoop, HDFS, and the others that follow, then ideally you should own up to whatever you mention in your resume. So I remember taking an interview where one of the candidates had written that they're very clear with, say, how Hadoop works or what HDFS is. I asked them a very simple factor in terms of what is the replication factor that is followed by default in HDFS, and the person was not able to answer that simple question. So whatever you list in your resume, especially the skills section, make sure to give importance to each and every point that you've written. It's okay to not write everything that you know. It's okay to skip some points that you are kind of dicey about. But just for the sake of filling in the resume with different skills and trying to appear cool and trying to cheat the overall, say, hiring process, don't add unnecessary skills that might prove fatal in the later stages. So this is my second recommendation. Avoid giving numbers to the languages or the libraries that you're comfortable with, and always mention the libraries or the core languages or the core skills that you are extremely comfortable talking about, be it say Python, be it NumPy, Pandas, Scikit-learn, or any of the extra packages that you mention. Make sure you're very comfortable with everything that you mentioned in the skills section of your resume. So this was my second tip. Now coming to the third point, essentially if you are a software developer who has good amount of programming knowledge, if you worked with Java before, if you worked with different say languages before, if you were a web developer, if you were good with JavaScript, don't mention those primary languages first over say languages like Python or R. I'm assuming you are trying to make a transition to data science and machine learning. So you have to pitch in languages which are widely accepted by companies in terms of data science and machine learning. You can always mention Python at the start and also add bullet points that since you were a web developer before applying to this role, then essentially you would be good with HTML, JavaScript, and AngularJS, Node.js, and the other technologies that are there. So don't keep your current primary skills as the main primary skills when you apply for a data science role, because essentially what they are trying to test is how good you are in terms of the new technology that you are applying for, and what you bring into the table is your previous experience along with the current experience that you have. So do mention your skills. That is something that I am not telling you to avoid, but mention them after you've mentioned Python or R as a programming language. A lot of mistakes that young beginners do while applying for a data science role is they mention the Hello World projects. If you're really serious about making an impact in this industry, if you're really serious of getting a job in data science and machine learning, try coming up with new projects that are different with respect to the other people that are applying for the same role. So if I open an internship sometime soon, I would expect the people applying for an internship to go beyond the simple Titanic data set or the simple PCA on Irish data set and so on and so forth. The reason why I'm saying this is because everyone starts off from that point which everyone mentions. Now, if I get 10 different resumes, all mentioning, say, PCA on Irish dataset and applying exploratory data analysis to Titanic, essentially everyone's the same. So, what differentiates you from the others is where the question comes in. If I see someone's done a simple sentiment analysis which is different from the lot, or if someone's worked on some unique project that we couldn't think of, then I would love to interview that person who's mentioned some different projects rather than going the normal route in terms of the Hello World projects in data science. So avoid falling in this trap of mentioning simple projects. I know everyone starts off from those simple projects. So considering you are ready to apply for a job, then essentially people would expect you to have done some other projects apart from the Hello World projects. So this was my fourth recommendation in terms of what you should avoid in terms of the Hello World projects as well. Now you might wonder, if we cannot put in the Hello World projects, what projects can we put in? There are tons of competitions happening on Kaggle. I mean, if you open up Kaggle, you will see tons of open projects that are still going around. Start learning from Kaggle. Kaggle as a resource for the introductory piece is really good in terms of the challenges it hosts. There is good amount of prize money involved in a lot of challenges as well. More than the money, you get to learn so many things from Kaggle kernels as well. So if you participate in these hackathons or these competitions that are going on in Kaggle, and if you happen to secure a really good rank in any of the competitions, make sure to highlight that project with a percentile score or a rank. If you are comfortable disclosing the rank, then disclose that project on top, which gives visibility to that project. So essentially, if you have worked on a problem statement which is say on demand forecasting and you apply for a job in a CPG company, then essentially companies would like to see that rank. There is a direct correlation between say demand supply forecasting and say a CPG industry in terms of planning their stock inventory as well. So keeping these small things in mind and mentioning projects with good ranks and good percentile scores as part of your portfolio would really add value to your shortlisting process in terms of your resume as well. So my next tip, or the fifth tip that I'm mentioning right now, is put in a rank or put in a percentile value to all the Kaggle competitions or the different competitions that you participate in. Coming to the next point. Now say for example you have a really good Kaggle score as well and you have one project as well. Now you have done some different project in terms of say a hobby project using computer vision or NLP. You've maybe created a chatbot, or you've created a question answer system or something of that sort as well. So essentially there are no ranks associated with such hobby projects. So how do you sell those projects as well in your resume is the next point. So essentially such unique projects that you've created, give them an impact value as well. So recently I worked on an independent project which could extract out say characters from braille transcripts and read it out using Google text to speech. So essentially this project is not tied to any competition, but essentially if I have to put this down, I will mention the amount of accuracy that I've been able to generate with respect to individual characters, and I also give an overall outlook in terms of where this model or where this project can fit in if I have to create an entire product out of it. So what I aim to do with that braille understanding convolutional neural network is I aim to integrate that with either Google Assistant, or I'm also learning Android right now, so I can integrate that as an Android application. So this is how you can smartly pick up hobby projects and also highlight what you have done in that hobby project and how you want to scale that up into an entire product. So this is my next recommendation, that how do you sell projects which don't come with a rank or which don't come with a percentile score as well. Think of different unique projects that are out there and try to fit in say unique projects with respect to different companies that you're applying for. I hope this tip also adds a lot of value to your overall job hunt process. One thing that I've kept recommending to a lot of you is try to build a portfolio apart from Kaggle and try to think of writing blogs. Writing blogs essentially gives visibility in terms of you as an individual who's contributing to this community. It helps a lot of people who are trying to understand that concept, and if you can explain that concept in the most simplified manner, you would get good amount of views using that blog, and you would get good amount of visibility in terms of followers that you have. So essentially, if you are good at writing or if you're good at explaining content say visually using videos, then try to go in for say a YouTube based channel or start writing blogs on Medium, and add that along with your resume as well if you have a decent amount of following as well. So for a Medium blog, if you have close to say 200, 300, 400 followers, or if one of your say blog is really well accepted by everyone and it has around say 10,000, 20,000 views, do mention that in your resume as well, because that gives visibility and that adds some extra flavor to your resume in terms of the extracurricular activity that you're doing in this field. So this is something that I can also recommend, that having an extracurricular with respect to the same field that you're trying to venture into also adds a lot of value in shortlisting your overall portfolio or your profile. Coming to the next and most important point which a lot of people fail to understand when they apply for a job is, do your bit of research in terms of understanding what your job role is before you even give an interview or before you even apply for a job in that particular organization. What I mean to say by that is, understand what company you are applying for. If it's an out and out business oriented company, then they wouldn't be very keen on understanding the deep learning technologies that you've already worked on. They would be more interested in what problems you've solved with respect to business using say simple machine learning algorithms or using your deep learning technologies as well. So understand where you're applying. If the company is an out and out research based organization, then giving them say different journals wherein your research paper was published, what is the kind of research that you've done prior to applying for that particular organization, is there synergy between what the company is doing and what you are doing in terms of your research, is where your understanding of the job role before you even send across your resume comes in very handy. So understand what you're applying for, understand the kind of industry that you're applying for, uh, handpick projects that you've already done which might add a lot of value to that industry. Don't just apply for the sake of applying. So don't have one say master resume that you kind of send across to every company that you apply for. If it's a business oriented company, give out or call out the business impact that your project can actually make, or if you are an experienced candidate and if you're trying to make a transition to a different organization, try to highlight the business impact that your project was currently making in your current organization. If you're a fresher and if you're applying for a business oriented role, then my suggestion would be say come up with projects in terms of how it may add value. Think of it as a project that you want to sell to that company in form of your own resume, and essentially you want that job out of that project as well. Don't say send across irrelevant projects which don't add a lot of value. Please don't send a very generic resume that kind of automatically filters your chances of getting to the next round as well. Understand which company you want to apply for, so don't rush to just apply once you see an opening. Hang in there, just wait for a couple of hours, try to understand what the company is doing, and then kind of create a portfolio or a resume that could add value to the organization as well. So that is how you can add good amount of value in terms of resume as well. So that is how you can kind of customize your resume for different companies. So yeah, that is all that I had in terms of different tips and tricks in terms of how you can kind of make a transition from your software engineering role, or a fresher who's applying for his first job. I hope you found this video informative in terms of how you can make the right transition from software engineering to data science or machine learning. The only thing that I can wish and pray for all my viewers right now is I hope every one of you is able to make that right transition to data science and machine learning. Keep studying, keep preparing hard, and I know the journey is hard. It's not a very simple journey to crack, but I'm pretty sure you would be able to crack the entire data science interview process and become really good data scientist in the near future. So this was my way of contributing back. I hope you enjoyed the video. The only thing that I can request before I end the video is it would be really motivating if you could subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to be notified for future videos. I have a lot of videos planned ahead as well. So it would be really motivating if you can actually click the bell icon and also share it across with friends who are trying to make a transition. If you are a college student and if there is a common WhatsApp or a Telegram group that you are a part of, then feel free to share my channel across to the entire group or the entire college as well. That would help me reach out to many more people like you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for many more amazing videos on machine learning and data science.